All right, Zach Smith.
How's it
Welcome to the
going?
show. It's going all right. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Not bad. How was your long run?
It was all right. It was hard. Once I got to like mile 10, everyone else went back, so I was like all alone. So it was hard for that last like six and a half miles, but
Right.
we got through it. So
Do you want the full 2 hours today?
yeah,
That's nice.
yeah.
I did a nice, very good moderate run on a Thursday. It's the best moderate run I've felt in a while. And then the hard workout Friday
Mm-hmm.
made
That's
this run
awesome.
today a little bit more challenging. But yeah, it was good to flush the legs out a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. How was your run?
Not too bad. Coach wanted me to go an hour 30, and Coach, if you're listening, I'm sorry I didn't quite get that much in.
It's all right.
It's closer to an hour 10, hour 15, but my legs just really feeling it around the hour mark, and I only have a few weeks left in the season. I don't want to risk tearing anything up. Yeah, it was a good last few days, so I feel like I'm getting back into really strong shape here, so that's good.
It's awesome.
Yeah, so you're a freshman here, and you're one of the more gifted, talented, quick runners on the team. Really been
Thanks.
impressed with what you've been able to show so far this year. So to start, just tell me what got you into the sport.
So I would say I started running when I was probably like 10 years old. There was this local 2-mile race for middle schoolers, and my brothers are also very good runners, and I did it with my friends at the time, and my brothers and my two friends, we went 1 through 5 in that race, and I ended up going second, and I just naturally realized that I had like somewhat a talent in this sport, and I always enjoyed it, and it went on to middle school, where we had a really good team in middle school, and we ended up winning states. But unfortunately, the two top runners, who are both Division I commits now, one runs at Princeton, the other one runs at Illinois. They both big time Division I schools. They both ended up leaving, and it just went from there.
So that was middle school, you're saying?
Yeah, it went from middle school, and then high school we had a great team. It was a lot of fun. Learned a lot. I went to a big high school. When I was a junior, we won states in track. That was a really big deal because there was a lot of really good teams. And once senior year came around, I was looking at schools to go to, and at first, I knew what Gordon was. I had visited with Weichert about it, and I didn't know if it was the place, but then I ended up realizing it was the place over time.
How big of a role did running play in your decision, and what other schools did you consider looking at?
So yeah, running was something that played a big role. I would say Weichert had a big role in it. He really helped me make my decision. He was just always there if I needed to reach out or something, whether it was a text or a call. He was always there to reach out, and I knew how good of a coach he was, and I reached out to some other members that I'd already committed to Gordon, and at the time I was thinking about going Division I. That was the thing I really wanted to do, get a scholarship for track. I was talking to UNH, Sacred Heart, Central Connecticut State University, a couple of Patriot Leagues, not a ton, but Holy Cross and Bucknell, and then the other school I talked to was Bryant for a little bit. But all those schools, didn't have the Christian values that which Gordon has, and I knew that if I went to a Christian community with a Christian team, it would be better than me going to one of those Division I schools and being like an okay runner at a non-Christian community.
So was that really what sealed the deal for your decision?
Yes. I would say, and also I focused a lot on running in high school. I made it a really big deal. But I think once I got to Gordon, I realized how we have a great team, and obviously you got to work hard and that kind of thing. But once I thought about it, I was like, do I really want to make a full commitment to Division I, even though I'm not going to a big time Division I school? Or do I want to make that full commitment when I can just run at a Division III school where I can still do very well and enjoy the ride a little more, and there'll be less pressure with it.
So how do you feel this season has gone for you here. Obviously, it's a little bit different because of everything that's going on in the world right now. But
Yeah.
How's the training been, and where do you feel like you are physically right now?
Yeah, I'd say the season's been pretty good. I came in very good shape. Did very well the first 3 races. Had a little injury because I was playing volleyball, which kind of slowed me down. But got back into it, and last week had a decent race in the mile. It was pretty good. Evan Page, me and him, and Connor Hall. But all 3 of us worked really hard in that mile, and it was a great race. Really enjoyed it, and it's been pretty good. I'd say it's a little different because I haven't really been doing track in XC season for a while. Like, that's never been a thing I've done before, so it was a little new at first. But the season's been great. I've made great friends on the team, and I'm excited for what's next in the next few meets before break.
How did the injury happen? I know you were dealing with that for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, so there's this rec volleyball league, and my friends really wanted me to play in it, and I'm one of those people where when it comes to sports, I'm the person that'll go like, yeah, I'll play. So
you're not supposed to do that as a member of an official team, though.
Yeah. I learned. Me and Weichert had a long talk about that one. Got grilled for it after the injury happened.
Yeah, well, that's the fear.
I called Weichert on the phone, and I told him, and he was like, "What?" And he just paused and stared at me for 10 seconds, and I was like,
I mean, that's the thing. Like, it's one thing to get injured while you're doing work for your own team, but you get injured playing pickup basketball or rec IM, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It usually doesn't go over as well.
Oh, it gets worse. So I worked that out. At first, I was being a little dramatic. I thought it was worse than it really was, but it was just really a bruise.
Yeah, I mean, you look fine now, so it's...
Thanks. Yeah, so that injury was a little bit of a bump in the road, but I learned my lesson. Good thing I learned as a freshman, because if it happened later in my career at Gordon, it probably would have been a problem when actual meet started. So, yeah, I'm glad I learned my lesson, and not to play rec sports during season.
Obviously, you're a very gifted distance runner. What events have you usually done in track? Do you stick with distance, or do you venture into other areas as well?
Yeah. Oh, thanks for what you said. The events I run are 5K for cross country. That's what I've been doing in high school. The mile, I sometimes run the mile. That was a thing in high school when I would do the mile, 2-mile double. And then the 2-mile, though, if you were to ask me what my event would be, I would say the 2-mile in track would be my event. That's the one that I've always enjoyed, and I've had a passion for it because in high school it's the longest distance you can run, and I guess it's an event that really tests if you can have that turnover, whether you go out at a really fast mile, whether it's under 4:50 the first mile, and if you can keep that pace for another mile.
Yeah, well, my high school was very small, and it's a long story. I've told it a couple times on this show. But long story short, we only had a track team my sophomore year.
Really?
Which is, kind of interesting. I mean, I could go on about that, but what happened during that season was we only got to do a few meets, but the last meet we did, the longest race they had was the 3,200, about 2 miles, like you were saying, and I was the only person on the team that wanted to do that race just because, I mean, I think of long distance on the track, it's one thing when you're doing it cross country and you have the change of a scenery and, a longer loop or only a loop a couple of times. But you just start, I mean, it's a mental game too, as much as it is physical, because you just, the laps just keep adding up and, you're just going in circles and it gets tough. Yeah,
it does. It really tests if you're willing to suffer to do well. And I knew kids in high school because I went to I don't brag when I say this, but I went to a high school where there were many good teams I would go against, kids that were way better than I was. I was only okay against the really good kids in Connecticut. There'd be kids that could do twice as good, and I would always wonder why I couldn't be with those kids, but they mentally could just push through. They could go out at a 4:40 and then they could do it again or go even faster than before. And yeah, I like what you said. You went to a smaller school. I went to a bigger one, but yeah, that event, no matter what, it's always a mental game, and that's the one thing I've been trying to work on this year, because the mental game wasn't that big of an issue at the beginning, but it became an issue as time went on.
What kind of goals do you have thinking about a 4-year career here? Obviously, you're very early into it.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to accomplish? What do you want to do in your time here?
Yeah, thinking about the team first, we have such a great team, and it would be saddening if it'd be very sad if we couldn't go to nationals as a cross country team. That's the first goal that I think of. That's very important to me, because we have such a good group of guys, and I wouldn't want to let them down in any way. So I'm gonna work and do everything I need to make sure that we can accomplish that goal, because that's the goal. Before I came here over the summer, Weichert was talking to me, and he was like, if you guys put in the work, I think you guys can have a team that'll go to nationals. And when he said that, I didn't doubt it for a second. I was like, he's onto something. And I think if our entire squad's been working so hard, and I think if we just keep that mental game and we keep going forward, yeah, anything's possible. And yeah, I'm excited to see what will happen.
What about yourself individually?
I would say, yeah, if I could get a couple school records, that'd be nice. There's a couple I already have that I'm eyeing. The one goal I really would like to do is go to nationals in cross country individually, as well as go with the team. But yeah, going individually, that's something I think that would be a possibility if I work really hard. And track, that's another goal I talked with Weichert about. If I can get a certain time in the 5K, maybe go to nationals again. You know, I'm just going to nationals would be really nice, and just seeing what will happen from there.
Yeah, it's been a few years now, but Damon Kilgore went to nationals a few years ago for us.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we've definitely been looking for somebody who can step up and get there again. So that would certainly be great.
Thanks. I'll try, so we'll just see what happens.
Yeah, well, tell me a little bit about the academic side of your time here. Obviously, you're a freshman, so you still got a while to figure out what you want to do. But have you settled on a major yet?
I'm pretty sure I know my majors. I'm not like 100%, but if I were to look 4 years from now and I were to guess the major I have now is what it's gonna be. Business administration is my major right now. You know, I've always kind of liked business. You know, I'm not the greatest math person, so I mean, you know, that might be a little bit of a bump in the road, but I've always liked looking at like those channels where it shows like the stocks and the charts and that kind of thing. I've always thought that's kind of cool, and in high school we did this thing called the stock market game, and I wasn't the best in my class, but I did pretty good in it, and I enjoyed it. It was pretty cool.
What classes are you taking right now?
So I'm not taking any business classes right now, besides communication, which I'm minoring in.
Okay, that's my major, so
yeah.
I'm definitely familiar with that.
Yeah, that was the one thing I wanted to do. That might be the thing I might do in the future, actually. Because in our high school we had a morning show on the news, and I would go on there with another person, and we would speak in front of the entire school, and we had like the entire news set up. It was like an actual newsroom, just like not as like professional as like an actual like local news station, but it was really cool, and yeah, I enjoyed that. So yeah, communication, Old Testament, application of learning theory. There was one other elective, and then TGC, which is the English class for freshmen.
When you say communication, is that visual storytelling? Is that Com 101 or?
Yeah, it's I have like Dr. Gardner or something. It's just communication. It's perspective.
Perspectives on. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's one of the 3 core classes that you have to take when you're starting out. But
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I didn't take that until sophomore year. I took the other 2 first. But
gotcha. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you're talking business communication.
Yep.
That's a good combination to have.
Thanks.
What do you want to do with that?
Yeah, so I'd say maybe entrepreneurship. That would be something that'd be really cool. Come up with an idea, maybe be able to like pitch something to someone. That could be an option. You know, making maybe a future company, something like in the future. Possibly selling stocks to others if I was like at a stock bond or something, like being able to sell stocks to others would be really cool. And people have always told me like you're able to really manipulate others in a way, which I don't know if that's the greatest thing. I mean, because you can manipulate people in a bad way, but I mean, being able to talk people into doing things. So I mean, they said if you could sell stuff to others, that'd be really cool. And I said, yeah, that'd be nice. So
Yeah, that's all great.
Thank you.
So you reached out to me a few weeks ago, and I don't know why you didn't tell me this sooner, because you follow me on social media.
Yeah.
You know I'm a big race fan.
Yeah.
But you and your family know JTG Doherty Racing's Cup Series driver Ryan Preece,
Yes.
which is a very cool connection for me to have
Yeah.
learned about.
Definitely.
Tell me how that got started.
So yeah, my dad works at a company called Eversource, and pretty much Ryan Preece's mom works at that company, and they both are like I think like the same position. They're both like VP internal audit, something like that. Yeah, so they're both same in the company, and my dad told me, he's like, yeah, this lady named Miss Preece, she has a son that does race car driving, and I was like NASCAR, because that was always something I watched when I was a kid. I thought it was kind of cool. One thing I enjoyed, which is kind of mean to say, but when you watch the crashes, those are kind of cool.
I see you're one of those fans.
A little bit, yeah, sometimes. Yeah. And yeah, I went to go watch them last spring. It was in New Hampshire, I think.
Sure, yep.
I forget what the race is called.
Well, New Hampshire Motor Speedway is a track.
The
But,
New Hampshire Motor Speedway.
yeah, was
race.
it I don't know, was it a cup race or a modified race, or
It was a
what?
cup race.
Okay.
Yeah, I forget.
I
It
don't
was
know.
like last summer. No, it was last spring.
Yeah. Well,
It was over break. Or
they did
something.
some because 1 year the sponsor they signed on for the race was like, I guess their slogan was like the extra mile.
Yeah.
So they extended the race from 300 laps to 301 laps.
Yep, yeah, that was the
And
one,
then but then that sponsor, their agreement stopped, and a new
Oh,
sponsor
really?
came in, and they didn't go
Wow.
back to 300. They just kept the 301, which I always thought was kind of interesting.
Yeah. It's a
but-
little odd, but yeah.
Yeah. So
And,
have you been keeping up with NASCAR at all in recent years, especially now that Ryan's
not a
in
ton.
Cup?
I usually tune in when like the Daytona 500 comes on, because
Sure.
that's the big hype one. But I forget what the other big one's called. I tune in for those two usually. I'm not as up to date as you are, but I try to. I might be going to see him again next year, which would be really cool.
Yeah. I think lockdowns are starting to ease, and most tracks are obviously not a full house yet, but reduced capacity.
Yeah. Well, it's really cool because their parents let us go in the box.
Nice.
They invite us to the box,
Yeah.
which is always really cool because it's not like outside where you can hear it like crazy loud or whatever. But yeah, I remember the first time I went outside in an actual race. I remember how loud it was, and I was like, wow, it's crazy.
How long have you known them?
I think my dad's probably known for longer, but I've known Ryan for probably like 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
Actually, no, yeah, like 4 years. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, his story is really he's become a favorite of mine just because everything is so sponsorship driven nowadays.
Yeah.
Like money is just as important as talent behind the wheel.
Yeah.
And his story coming up through the modifieds, which actually are really big up here in New England.
Yeah.
Most of those guys typically end up making a career out of that. And Ryan's gotten opportunities to go Xfinity racing, got a big break with Joe Gibbs a few years ago, and now doing Cup with JCG. It's been really cool to see him be able to work his way up kind of the old school way, instead of having, like a rich father who owns a Fortune 500 company and basically has guaranteed sponsorship for as long as he wants. It's definitely rare to see that these days. So it's nice to see when somebody can break through primarily on what they can do behind the wheel.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I remember I went to his house one year, and he's got like a ton of cars. He's got a workshop too, which is really cool. I remember he was doing like donuts. I don't know. He was doing like donuts around like the neighborhood. I remember how loud it was being in the house. Like he was like probably like almost a mile away, and you could still hear it. It was crazy. And the car I drove in high school was what their parents gave my parents a deal on it. It was a 2016 Ford. I don't think it was an Edge or it was a Ford Edge, And what they didn't know was they modified the engines, so it had like this really like fast like engine that would go from like 0 to like, I don't know, 0 to like 40 or something. It was crazy, because whenever I drive it, I go like, wow, this car can go kind of fast. And I remember I talked to his dad at the race, and he was like, yeah, we modified the engines, so if you're wondering why it goes really fast, that was Ryan used to own that car, and he modified it and did all that, and I was like, that's cool.
So obviously there's Ryan. Do you have any other favorite drivers that you're keeping up with right now?
I forget what her name was. That female driver.
Danica?
Danica, yep. I really enjoyed watching her. That was probably the biggest. That was like when I was really like into it. Like, I'm still into it, but that was like prime like into it. Like,
yeah. Did you know her from her IndyCar days, or was it more when she came over and started racing in NASCAR?
NASCAR.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I don't know. I think she did a lot of good things for the sport.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of hard to deny that the Cup side of her career was pretty underwhelming. But
yeah,
you know, they got a bunch of young women and girls coming up through the ranks right now through the diversity program and everything.
That's awesome.
That like started in late models and are working their way up the traditional NASCAR route.
Yeah.
You know, she started in karting and went the open wheel direction, and then kind of came in here. You know, that's not an easy transition to make. You know, Tony Stewart made it look pretty easy, but it's challenging.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, even Montoya never wanted an oval when he came here.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, she was at a disadvantage, you know, right from the start. And, you know, you can't just make up, like, you know, Kevin Harvick driving another Stewart-Haas car. He's got 20 years on her. It's something that she's never going to be able to overcome.
Yeah.
So it was difficult. But, yeah, I'm with you. I want to see more women getting involved in the sport. I think would be a wonderful thing. And there are certainly a couple that seem to be close to breaking through. So it'll be interesting to see over the next 3 to 5 years if we get a woman in Cup again. I think that'd be great.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was cool. I remember how big of a deal it was when it first occurred.
Yeah, there's definitely changing the guard right now, because like you got Dale Jr., Tony Stewart, Jeff Gordon, all those guys retiring a few years ago. This is Jimmy's last year coming up. He's only got a few races left. So, yeah, it's good to see. You know, there was a while, I remember when I was a kid, like there were hardly any rookies for like 3 to 4 years of a time period. And now, just the last few years, we've gotten so many great guys coming up from Xfinity Series and Truck Series and all around. So,
yeah, definitely.
That's good to see.
Mm-hmm.
Sport definitely needs new interest and new drivers to come along and hopefully bring new fans. So, yeah. So I guess we'll stick with the sports theme right now. You wore a Cowboys shirt to practice the other day, and
I did.
Coach and I are Eagles fans. I know that definitely didn't go over super well with him.
Yeah, definitely not.
But yeah, so like, are you? I guess I should have asked this at the start. Are you from the Dallas area, or are you from around here?
I am not.
So how did you get to be a Cowboys fan?
So my dad was a Cowboy fan his entire life. He was the Staubach era when Staubach was the big deal, and he's like the Cowboys ever since. Even though
that's my parents too. They're both Cowboys fans.
Gotcha.
My dad grew up in New York, so you think maybe he'd become a Giants fan because he's a Yankees fan as well. But Cowboys were good when he was growing up, and one of his best friends was a Cowboys fan, so he became a Cowboys fan that way. And then my mother was born in Florida, and obviously a big Gators fan. Emmitt Smith obviously went on to play for the Cowboys, so she became a Cowboys fan as well. But you know, being born in northern Delaware, I went over to the dark side and started rooting for the Birds. But yeah, I mean, I just can't believe that a team in that division is going to get to host a playoff game this year. I mean, it's just been so ugly.
It's been sloppy football, I'm not going to lie. All teams. Cowboys especially. I can tell you as a fan, I have very little to any confidence in the Cowboys right now. Unfortunately, Dak got injured 2 weeks ago. Compound fracture of the ankles, so he's going to be out for like at least a year. Probably longer, because those injuries take a long time to heal, especially coming from someone that broke 2 bones in his leg. It took me like 8-9 months, and it was a very long time.
Yeah, well, I thought of Alex Smith like really hours before it happened because he came back and took the field for the first time in almost 2 years himself.
Yeah.
And it just like broke my heart. It's like he was fearing for his life at some points with the infections that he was dealing with. It's really unbelievable that he got back to where he is now. All the surgeries he had to go through, and then within hours you see Dak Prescott go down with a very similar injury, and just obviously the rivalry's fierce, and you just never want to see something like that happen. I'd never wish anything like that on anybody.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Even a rival. Yeah, I'm certainly hoping for the best for him. So that obviously complicates the Dak versus Wentz comparison, which I know is a hotly contested topic. Carson had an injury as well a few years ago with his ACL, and I don't know. I keep going back and forth because Dak had a great 13-3 season. His rookie year, I think it was his rookie year, right? 16.
Yeah.
And
13-3. Yep.
Yeah, and then the Eagles went 13-3 next year, and that was mostly Wentz. Of course, Nick Foles came in at the end and finished the work. So I feel like those two have always been very even, and every time I think one's kind of pulled ahead of the other, and obviously Dak's going to be out for a while now, so it's going to be interesting to see. Hopefully he's able to come back.
I'd say they both have different specialties. I think Dak, you can make a debate that he's like a better like short passer, but Wentz can throw it way deeper than Dak can, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, it's tough because everybody's talking about Carson Wentz leading the league in interceptions this year, and I'll admit the first couple weeks I don't think he's looked great at all, and I don't think he's been as good ever since he came back from the injury. Although I think he was on pace to definitely contend for and maybe even win the MVP award that season. So it's kind of a high bar to set for yourself, but you can't really blame Wentz for underperforming too much. I feel like when his entire team is bitten by the injury bug.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can't believe somebody in the medical team over there in Philadelphia is not doing their job.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's one thing last year was this team is so cursed with injuries, but now it's you're not even halfway through the season again, and already I don't know. I feel like that can't be a coincidence. You know what I'm saying? Something's not right there.
Yeah, no, I agree. I would say I think the injuries are happening. Well, you could say the medical staff isn't doing that good of a job. That's probably true. But I'd say because of COVID and not having those spring training and all that, I think that affects the injuries too. Because you saw once the season started, people.
Week 2 I think was.
Yeah.
I've never seen so many injury tweets from Adam Schefter and also I think even they were mentioning this. We can't remember a time.
It was crazy.
In our careers, we've been covering this, where it's been this bad.
Oh yeah, it was the Cowboys had 4 people injured their first game. I don't know how many of the Eagles got injured, but there's probably a few as well. I would guess.
Oh yeah, well I don't. Got to see if I can find the picture. I think somebody shared a graphic of what the roster looks like on paper, and who's healthy enough to actually play, or who was healthy enough to play Thursday night.
Yeah,
and it's Wentz is there, and Jason Kelsey's there, and the entire rest of the offense. Deshaun Jackson ended up getting cleared. He got cleared to play again at the last minute, and then got injured again.
Yeah.
So it's just that man can't catch a break. I really feel bad for him.
I saw that. I was kind of bummed out. And, the other thing I thought was kind of crazy was that run by Daniel Jones.
Oh man,
that's. Yeah, I was a little disappointed.
That is the entire division summarized in one play. That's just I don't know if you saw the stats with a speed. He peaked at 21.2 miles an hour, which is faster than Lamar Jackson's even.
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean he's got speed. He tripped on his own.
Yeah. It looked like he was kind of tired too. He just gave up the 10-yard line. Literally, if he would have had 2 more seconds, he would have been in the end zone.
Yeah, the Eagles did not deserve to win that game on Thursday night. I mean, neither did the Giants, obviously, with how they blew it at the end. But
it was But I'd say when Ingram dropped that catch, I knew the Eagles were going to win. And right when the Giants took that 11-point lead, I called Weichert, and he hung up immediately because whenever he does that, he's upset. So every Sunday when the Eagles lose, I'll just give him a nice FaceTime, and he'll just go like boop like that. And and then I text him after, and once you guys scored the touchdown, I texted him. I'm like, congrats, you guys will actually win the division. And he was like, yeah, we'll see about that. And I was like,
yeah, I don't even know if I'm actually kind of impressed that a team could win their second game of the year in week 7, and as they do that, they take the lead in the division.
Yeah.
It's
crazy.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to look back on this when we're older, and we're going to be like, wow, that's some bad football right there.
Yeah. I mean, they really should be 2-5. I mean, the tie they had against the Bengals was, I mean, it was a lot like the Giants game. I mean, neither team was playing to win. They were both playing to not lose, and I don't know. I would have liked to see Jake Elliott try the 64-yarder.
Oh yeah.
Because he hit the 61-yarder a few years ago. Yeah. I mean, I feel like I would have even felt better if they'd gone for it and he missed. And it's just like, oh well, they're probably gonna lose the game anyway. But to play to preserve the tie, I don't know. That's kind of left a bad taste in my mouth there.
Yeah. What I would say is, like, if I was a coach of the team, I would say, why not just go for the win? And, like, if we lose, like, so what? Because a tie, like, it helps, but, like, it's pretty much a loss. It's not a win, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I guess they're talking about how crappy the division is anyway.
It could be helpful, yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, I feel like even with the home field advantage, like, their opponent's going to have a first-round bye, basically. Like, I don't see anybody in that division, unless a miracle happens, they might win their home playoff game, but nobody's going to legitimately talk about any of them as Super Bowl contenders this year.
Oh, yeah, absolutely not. But just imagine if one of those teams had, like, 4 wins and just took off after the wild card. That would be something.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I guess what is if, like, every team in the division lost every game against opponents outside the division, I guess, because you've got to play.
Yeah.
You've got to play each team in your division twice.
Yep.
So that's 6.
Oh, wait.
So that's 6 games because you play the 3 opponents because you're the 4th team. So would that be? So I guess, is it possible for every team in the division to finish 3-13 if they lose every game? Which
it's a possibility.
I'm trying to do the math quickly in my head. But yeah, I've seen 7 and 9 teams occasionally, if it's a bad division, have gotten in there. But I've just tweeted the other night, the Eagles could go 6 and 9, or who knows, maybe even 5-10 and 1, and
win the division. Yeah.
Yeah, with how bad they're looking right now. Yeah.
Well, we don't have a quarterback, son. The Cowboys don't have a quarterback, so I don't know what to do.
Yeah. Yeah, so you haven't been too impressed with Andy Dalton so far?
He's a choker. I hate to have to say it, but I mean, like, he never won a playoff game. I don't know how many times he's gone to the playoffs. I know he's gone, like, more than once, I think, to the wild card, and he's lost.
Yeah, he looks so inconsistent to me in Cincinnati, because there were times where he looked elite, and then there were times where the Bengals were one of the worst teams in the NFL.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I just think he just struggles. Like, they were doing good. I think, honestly, that they would have had a chance to win the game if Zeke didn't have those 2 fumbles. But I think just Dalton kind of, like, once it was like 21-3, I think Dalton just kind of gave up mentally. And I think the team gave up mentally. And, I was just disappointed in Zeke because I know he was being lazy when he was running the football, and he just wasn't disciplined enough. And that's why those fumbles occurred.
Yeah, well, I know it's early still, and the way things are going right now with COVID, who knows? I know some people are predicting that the NFL might not even get this far. But do you have any Super Bowl predictions? Teams that are looking good to you right now?
I think the Seahawks, honestly, are going to win the Super Bowl. They look like a really tough team. They got a good defense. They now have Jamal Adams, who came on the offseason, one of the top safeties in the league, and just Russell Wilson. He's kind of got it. Like, if he's one of those elite quarterbacks, like, that I would be willing to trust if there was, like, 50 seconds left in the game and they needed to drive down the field, I would put my trust in him. And they did that against the Vikings as well, and they ended up winning with, like, 50 seconds on a 4th and 20, and Russell threw a great pass, and they won the game off of that drive.
Yeah. So, you follow any other sports as closely as football? I don't know if you're a Dallas sports fan, generally speaking, or tell me about any other interests you have.
So, yeah, I'm a Boston Celtics fan. I watch them pretty close, and I'm a Red Sox fan and a Brewers fan. So, yeah, all Boston besides the Cowboys.
Except the Patriots.
Yep. Yeah, it's a weird combination, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, Chase Strauss is the same way because his grandfather was a Jets fan, introduced him to football. And yeah, I mean, I guess we could talk about the Jets a little bit too, but with how bad they are. But what do you think of? It just came out yesterday. It looks like the Buccaneers are going to sign Antonio Brown. Tom Brady bringing him back for a second time. I don't know. His Raiders didn't work out. Patriots didn't work out. Do you think anything is going to be better in Tampa Bay for AB, or is it just going to be same old, and he'll be gone after a few weeks?
I would say if I was a coach, before I would have signed him. I hope they did this. I'm not positive if they did. I would have met with him and said, look, if you're going to be part of this team, you need to be there for your teammates. You can't be a problem in the locker room. You can't be putting yourself on the throne thinking, I'm Antonio Brown, so I can do this, I can do that. You know what I mean? I would address immediately his behavior issues. And if you figure that out, then he's a top tier receiver in the league, top 3. So, I mean...
Yeah, nobody's denying that.
Yeah, so I would say if he can just work on that issue in the locker room, just putting himself in front of others and only caring about himself when he's open and he doesn't get a pass. I'd say, because he had those issues with Pittsburgh where he might have been open or two on a play, and if he didn't get the ball, he chucks the Gatorade can onto the ground and just had a fit on the sideline. But yeah, if he can work on that, I think he can be a very good receiver and another very big weapon for Tom Brady. And yeah, if that works out, they could possibly be contenders for the Super Bowl as well.
Yeah, well, I don't know. When the Patriots released him last year, I was like, that's it. I thought there was no way because you know how Bill Belichick is. Say what you will about him and the Patriots organization, that guy is a football genius and mastermind and just doesn't care about anything other than winning Super Bowls. And like I said, obviously Antonio Brown's one of the most talented wide receivers in the game, and I thought if Belichick can't even handle Antonio Brown for whatever reason, how can anyone else? And do you follow Old Takes Exposed on social media?
I've heard of it.
Yeah. So they dig up old tweets and or predictions that end up totally not working out and everything. And somebody found Bruce Arians' old quote from March, I guess, right after they had signed Brady, and everybody was talking about Tom Brady bringing Antonio Brown to New England, and he said, "Yeah, he's never going to fit with our locker room or with our organization," and now here we are. So
yeah, well, he wasn't wrong, Simon.
Yeah,
made a point.
Yeah, well, yeah, we'll see how it works out. But the way things have gone the last couple times, I don't have too much confidence in getting it together.
Yeah, I don't know how much confidence I have in him either. But you never know. Maybe he changed. Maybe it took 2 teams to finally change his mindset, and if it did, that's great.
Yeah. All right. Well, Zach, thank you so much for taking time out of your afternoon to come on the show. Really enjoyed our conversation, and I know you've got a bright future ahead of you in cross country. And like I said, all the best wishes to your quarterback for a speedy recovery, and to you in the world of running. I'm really looking forward to seeing what you can do.
Thank you, Benjamin. I think you got a bright future as well, and I love this show. I've seen your podcasts and all of the shows, and I think you're doing great stuff.
Yeah, thank you for that, man.